Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, senators grill top law enforcement officials about security failures ahead of the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. And we'll have an update on an LMPD officer who was shot in the head while responding to a shooting at Old National Bank in Louisville 1 year ago.
All right, we have a whole slew of watches, warnings, and advisories on the map at this hour. We'll talk about that coming up in a few seconds.
Dedicated to Southern and Eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Severe storms are rolling through parts of eastern Kentucky and Tennessee right now. It is still a first alert weather day, and meteorologist Eric Dean is tracking the threat. Eric.
All right, good evening, everybody. We have a whole lot of advisories to talk about, so let's go ahead and hit the maps, shall we? First of all, here's the latest with live pinpoint Doppler radar. We have that severe thunderstorm warning in effect for portions of eastern Kentucky. We'll go ahead and pinpoint this right now. This is for Clay, Harlan, Leslie, and Perry County. Again, Clay, Harlan, Leslie, and Perry County. Severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 5:45. We'll go ahead and move the map down over towards portions of Campbell County as well as Claiborne County, where we have that severe thunderstorm in effect. So part of that's expired now until 6 p.m. So again, the only one that we have now is that severe thunderstorm warning in effect for Harlan, Perry, Leslie, and Clay County. We still have the severe thunderstorm watch that is in effect. Again, severe thunderstorm watch is in effect for the counties shaded in yellow. Rockcastle, Pulaski, and Wayne now out of the severe thunderstorm watch. But the counties shaded in yellow: Jackson, Laurel, Clay, Knox, Whitley, McCreary, Campbell, and Claiborne County. Severe thunderstorm watch goes into effect until 9 o'clock tonight. The area shaded in green is a flood watch that goes into effect until 5 o'clock in the morning. We do have a flood advisory in effect too for parts of the viewing area. Looks like just south and west of the Monticello area. We'll dive into the forecast deeper coming up in just a few minutes. Steve.
All right, Eric, thank you. Acting Secret Service Director Ronald Rowe was called to Capitol Hill to answer questions about the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. Some new evidence came to light during the Senate hearing, but lawmakers also expressed lots of frustration over what they perceive as a lack of answers and accountability. CBS's Skylar Henry has the latest from Capitol Hill.
Senators grilled Acting Secret Service Director Ronald Rowe for several hours in an at times contentious hearing about security failures leading up to the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump.
I acknowledge this was a failure of the Secret Service.
Is it not prima facie that somebody has failed? A former president was shot.
Sir, this could have been our Texas school book depository. I have lost sleep over that for the last 17 days, just like you have.
Somebody.
FBI Deputy Director Paul Abate testified local police had been following the suspicious person, later identified as gunman Thomas Crooks, for up to 90 minutes prior to the shooting, and spotted him again on a rooftop with a gun 30 seconds before he opened fire.
It appears that information was stuck or siloed in that state and local channel.
While the shooter's motive remains unknown, the FBI says it found a social media account that belonged to Crooks that included comments that were anti-Semitic, anti-immigration, and called for political violence.
If it is in fact the shooter that posted these comments, it's the first real indication where he's expressing what are described as extremist views and talking about political violence.
Some Republican senators pushed the Secret Service head about reports the agency turned down protection requests from the Trump campaign.
I believe that the Secret Service leadership made a political decision to deny these requests.
Senator, what I will tell you is that Secret Service agents are not political.
The Senate committees say they have more questions and want to talk to agents who were on the ground the day of the shooting. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Acting Secret Service Director Rowe says the shooter was a loner who was, for whatever reason, fixated on attacking the President of the United States and had looked at both President Biden and former President Trump, as well as researched previous assassinations, such as how far away Lee Harvey Oswald was from President Kennedy when he was shot and killed in Dallas in 1963. The director of Project 2025 has stepped down. That's the controversial plan devised by the Heritage Foundation to guide a second Donald Trump presidency. It's become a political football, with Democrats linking its right-wing overhauls directly to the former president. Trump has worked to distance himself from Project 2025, saying over and over again, quote, "I have no idea who is behind it." But that could be difficult to believe entirely, because the director who stepped down is Paul Dans, a former top advisor in Trump's administration. One of the sons of former Sinaloa cartel boss El Chapo has pleaded not guilty to drug trafficking charges in a Chicago courtroom today. Joaquin Guzman Lopez is accused of leading the criminal operations of what is considered one of the world's most powerful and deadly drug trafficking operations. Guzman Lopez and the cartel's reported co-founder were arrested by U.S. authorities Thursday in El Paso, Texas. The man accused in the Gilgo Beach serial killings was back in court. It is Rex Heuermann's first appearance before a judge since he was arraigned on a second superseding indictment last month. Heuermann is not expected to face new charges, although he is being probed for his involvement in at least one additional death. He pleaded not guilty to first and second degree murder charges in the killings of 3 women whose remains were all found near Gilgo Beach in 2010.
And so what we do is we get every single subpoena we find in the file, whether it was done by us or previously. Then we go through the file and find the response to the subpoena, marry the two, and provide that to the defense. So, of course, that is arduous.
Heuermann also pleaded not guilty to second-degree murder charges in the killings of 3 other women killed between 1993 and 2007. The Department of Justice is suing Norfolk Southern for delaying passenger train traffic. The DOJ is specifically accusing the freight rail giant of knowingly delaying Amtrak's New Orleans to New York route. The civil lawsuit was filed Tuesday in D.C. District Court. The Justice Department claims Norfolk Southern regularly fails to give Amtrak trains preference over its freight trains as required by federal law. Delta Airlines has hired high-profile attorney David Boies' law firm to seek damages from cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike and Microsoft. Delta wants damages for the massive service issues it suffered last week. A badly flawed software update caused a massive breakdown in Delta's crew tracking software. It left the major air carrier unable to find the pilots and flight attendants it needed to operate. The U.S. Senate has passed bipartisan legislation aimed at protecting children online. The Senate bill's passage comes during a heated national debate about the effect of social media on kids. It's not yet clear if the legislation will be taken up in the House, but House Speaker Mike Johnson has signaled an openness to it. The legislative package is made up of 2 key bills. The Kids Online Safety Act requires platforms to provide safeguards for minors. The officer who was shot in the head while responding to a shooting at a bank in Louisville continues to recover at home. According to a post on social media, LMPD says Nick Wilt is walking, talking, eating well, and moving around. He has finished his inpatient therapy at Fraser Rehabilitation Institute in Louisville. The post also says to keep the love and prayers coming. Officer Wilt has also been given a service dog named Luke that will help him with his everyday life. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, looming debt may seem like a bigger issue than your retirement. Why you should find a balance between the two.
And we still have that severe thunderstorm warning outside for parts of the area, as well as a severe thunderstorm watch and a flood watch. We'll time everything out in the First Alert forecast in a few minutes. Stay with us.